Hello, happy pot lovers. It is time for the kiln opening. Our little kiln guardian has been guarding the kiln. So, let's see what we have here. Moon jar. I have snowflake crackle on the white parts, and you can really see the crackle inside. The lighting is terrible. It's going to rain today. The outside is licorice. I didn't want to go too heavy because I wanted the texture to show up. I do have a little bit, tiny bit of crawling right there. Interesting. That was probably where I got a little bit less than exact with the glaze, but it doesn't look like it bled too much. A little tiny bit of overlap there. Anyway, not too bad. Interesting. Not the best glaze job. All right. Put that away. We have the ghost. It's that time of year, and he has snowflake crackle on him too. I don't know if you can see the crackle in the glaze. Maybe I'll take some red ink and go in his crackle, and he's got crackle inside and out. I don't see any plucking. That's a good sign. So this is the first time I've fired Laguna Frost, so we'll see how those pieces work. The moon jar did not pluck. Well, yeah, the moon jar plucked a little bit. I can see it right there on the foot. It plucked a little bit, and I see pieces on the shelf. So we'll probably have to do some wax with silica. There's our cone pack for the top. We got a good 5.5, not quite to 6. Here is what will be a soap dispenser for my kitchen. It's got floating blue with Lumos over it. I got some crawling where it was thick, and I thought that might happen because I put the Lumos on when the floating blue was not exactly dry. But I wanted to see how the floating blue did over that texture. Not too bad. It doesn't show the texture great, but the texture was kind of subtle on this one and not sharper edges. So, but this was for me anyway, so I will test it later to see if the soap dispenser fits and let you know. This one, wow, that's kind of a disappointment. This is floating blue. I obviously didn't do it thick enough, but I was afraid it would run off the bottom with that texture. And then it's licorice here and here and inside. The inside looks good. And then I put light flux right here and where the two met. I think this is going to be a refire for sure. So the licorice did all right on my signature. It didn't obscure it. This was one of the fancy handles, and it's not as fancy as I would like now. So refire. And this one is going to be a refire. So this is floating blue. I don't mind this part. That doesn't look too bad. This part would be okay, except look at all that crawling on the rim inside. Wow. Major crawl there. So this was floating blue, Lumos, and light flux. And light flux, I think it had light flux. I'll have to look at my notes. But if it had light flux, the light flux didn't do much. I think this one might have been just floating blue and Lumos. And then I had slip trailed my name on the bottom, and that turned out okay. Floating blue's a little thin on the bottom. It looks more brown than blue, but that's all right. So definite another refire. And this was an experiment that didn't turn out too bad, except that the licorice is a little bit thin on the outside. and that is Stroke and Coat Hot Tamale on the inside. So this was thrown as a round bowl, has chattering on the bottom, and you can see where it's thin there on the side, I think. And so what I did was I threw it as a round bowl, I squared the sides up, and then I folded the edges in to make it a square. I'm not sure I like it. I'm going to have to use the bowl and see if food gets caught up under these edges and stuff. If it's hard to clean, it's going to be a no-go on the design. But I like the chattering on the bottom. Okay, and last on this shelf, next to last on this shelf, this was a refire. When I fired this bowl, I forgot to glaze the inside. And then when I glazed this, after I had the glaze in it, it dawned on me that I used floating blue, and when floating blue is thin, it goes that pukey brown color. That looks terrible. And I put some light flux around the edge, and that did okay on the glaze that was already there. The outside is Ingleside pink, probably midnight, but I'm not positive, and then Lumos. But anyway, the outside doesn't look too bad, but the inside's really pukey. It is sealed over. It is vitrified. This has already been fired 2 times, so this is probably going in my cabinet and get used. I don't think I'll refire it. So anyway, there's that. And then the last thing on this shelf are these 2 little guys here. They have butterscotch opal on them, I believe. No, they have Lumos on them. And these will be, one of these will be the top to the wizard's staff. And they were fired on a stilt. That's the hole where the stick is going to go in. So we'll see. Let me get these shelf supports out of here so they don't fall and break something. And pardon me for rushing, but we're getting ready to get some rain. And my kiln is outside, as you can probably tell, so I want to get this done. Here is one of the water whistles, and she didn't sit flat, so I used this little scrap piece of clay that was a trimming where I was trimming a foot, and I stuck it under her like this. So I will have there's a little teeny sharp point right there. I think you can see it sticking up from her butt. And I have to sand that off with a stilt mark stone. But she's a water whistle. She still whistles, so I will put water in her later and let you know how she does. Her eyes kind of bled a little bit. But that's okay. And she was glazed in butterscotch opal. I got the butterscotch opal off of Glazes. I don't know if you can see. Nice glaze. It does nice things all by itself. But anyway, there's that. Next, water whistle. Nope, this guy's a death whistle, actually. And he says, face your fear. And he is unglazed, so I will just sand him down till he's nice and smooth. He has a little hole right there. I'll put him on a thing where somebody could wear him around their neck. He's got black eyes, kind of bleeding from the mouth. And this is what he sounds like. So that's kind of a fun little deal there. It's almost Halloween. We are in September now. I think he turned out pretty cool. I'm happy with the way the colors turned out. These are the Colors for Earth color concentrates. I painted him on greenware, actually. They turned out pretty good. And this is on Laguna Frost porcelain. So this one, I guess I did not put enough black in here, and this is not as smooth as I would like. I guess I should have gone over it with a sponge or sandpaper or something after bisque, but we'll see what I can do with the sandpaper. So this is, it was black, and then, so the black was licorice, then it was John Britt's sea foam green, and then I don't remember if I put Lumos or Flux. I think I put light Flux on the rim, and it's got some pretty cool coloring on there. And the inside looks pretty good. We got some neat stuff going on there. I do have tiny bit of crawling there. Tiny bit of crawling. And then these flowers were done with porcelain slip that I piped on, slip trailed on, and then took a stiff brush and spread them to get that. And then the colors were filled in with Colors for Earth. And I will do a video on how I did that. Or you can look on Paula McCoy's. She has some videos doing the same technique on Christmas ornaments and things. And then on the bottom, it's got a little bit of carving. And that's just where another color clay was on the wheel, and I didn't move it off because I did a green, a black, a yellow, and a blue. So we'll see. Actually, that's the black one, so I'm not sure. That must have been the green one, and the green one turned gray. Interesting. So I want to say that was leaf green, and it sure burned out. And this was a cone 6. That was leaf green because I used the green glaze on the green cup. Interesting. Okay. So this is the black one, and it's got magnolias. At least as good as I could get to a magnolia. And licorice and lumos and maybe a little flux. I'll look on my notes. This one feels a little better, but it will need some sanding. Again, Colors for Earth filled in right there. So, but the inside on this, I got a little tiny bit of crawling way down in the bottom. I don't know if you can see it right. Yeah, I can't show you. Anyway, just a tiny piece of crawling on the bottom. Okay, that is the black one. All right, this is a test bar. And so this was 10 centimeters. I will measure it now. And I'll also weigh this and then boil it and soak it. And then I will weigh it again to test the absorption. And this says Laguna Frost and the date and the batch number. All right. Oh, that turned out pretty cool. So this is Midnight Blue on the Laguna Frost, and those cracks were already there. The glaze was wiped back, and then I took just little curved lines of light flux to see what it would do. I wanted to see how the blue would break over the texture, so I left the top unfluxed, and then did the flux there to see how it would do. And the inside is just the Midnight Blue. Also, this was going to be a soap dispenser also. I don't know if that's going to be too big. This might be big enough to use for the kind of soap dispensers that foam. I'll have to see. I'll measure it and see what I got. Next, we have a slip-trailed mug. This is the butterscotch opal here. It was dipped up to about there. And then the John Britt seafoam was poured inside and dipped. Actually, I think it was brushed on. And then I put light flux up here and in here just to see how it would react with the seafoam. I am not super impressed with how that reacts, but it's not bad. I like this here where the two intermingled. I did have some flux where they met right there and flux where they met right there. I'm not sure I needed that, but so that one has, and then I had slip trailed my name on the bottom. No plucking on that one. That's good. And that's a nice sized mug. That was one of the fancy handles mug. I did a video on how to do these fancy handles. So I will link to it and you can check that out if you want. Not my original idea. I actually got it partially from Little Street Pottery and partially from Hobble Creek Pottery. This is a pumpkin. I'm kind of liking where the green and the butterscotch played together in there. I got some purples going on. The flux probably had something to do with that. This is not glazed right here because it was sitting on the shelf. I did not want to stilt this because sometimes the porcelain will kind of melt in the glaze fire, and I didn't want it to melt to the stilts. I've had that happen before. So anyway, cute little pumpkin. And the crack was already there before I fired it, by the way. That cracked in the drying and the bisque fire, so not really worried about it because it's not a functional piece. But I do have a little tiny crack in the bottom. Okay, so this is the second of two nesting bowls, and I have a crack right there that goes all the way through. Would you look at that? That is unfortunate. This is a cool glaze combination. I really like it. Licorice, Dante of Earth Nation Ceramics Lumos, and in here I have swirls of Stroke and Coat Hot Tamale to give that red, and then it's Hot Tamale in the chattering. So I put the Hot Tamale on and then chattered it. Could have wiped the black off a little better. That looks kind of dirty, but it's moot because it's a useless bowl except for fruit because we got a big old crack going right there. And it looks like I probably just trimmed it a little bit too much. The good news is the glaze didn't come all the way through, but I can see it peeking there. Okay. And our cones for that shelf, we got a good cone, 6.5, almost 7. That 7 was going down. So I'm going to get this shelf out of here, put it in the house, and I'll be right back. And here we go with the bottom shelf. Happy pot lovers. Let's try one of the water whistles first. Well, that one turned out all right. Little teapot. And the colors here are the colors for Earth Color Concentrates. Under Kitten's Clear, I do have a little bit of kiln wash stuck to the bottom of this one. All of them are going to need a little sanding, of course. Whistle's great. Little flowers on the handle. And I'll put water in these and let you know how they sound in a little while. The wizard made it, except his hand didn't. So I don't think he's going to be holding his staff. Oh well. It's still attached. And he whistles. And he's a water whistle also. My name on the bottom. The colors for Earth, I kind of almost liked them better before they were glazed, but that's okay. And I left his beard and his hand and the owls and his nose unglazed. Let's get the whole wizard in there. Yep, and he is about 6 inches tall. All right, so the hops mug, he's got seafoam inside and on the handle, and butterscotch opal outside. And I had done the hops in the colors for Earth, and the butterscotch opal kind of covered them up. So I may do a luster fire on these, or I may do a low fire with some stroke and coat underglaze on it to give those hops color. We'll see. Not everything turns out quite like you expect. A tiny, tiny bit of crawling there. Nice size, easy to hold the handle. I'd say it's probably going to hold 20 ounces-ish. And then you can see where I signed on the bottom with the colors for Earth. So some colors come through, some don't. These had been colored in a green, 2 shades of green actually. And the butterscotch opal covered them up. Good to know. This one I was excited about. A little less excited with the fact that the floating blue went a little black on me there. May refire this. This is vivid blue. These are my dogwoods. Yeah, the floating blue's okay. It's better inside. I guess it was a little bit thin in some spots. And I did some random stripes lower. I don't like that. So I may go over all of this with some Lumos and refire it. But that's kind of cool on the handle. Anyway, the dogwoods turned out nice. And that was done with the same method as the magnolia and the other flowers. This one is a little bit of a disappointment. So this turned out a little bit shy there. And I got some terrible, terrible bubbling, blistering over the colors for Earth. The floating blue turned out okay. I probably should have done it with the midnight. Floating blue is okay inside. And this is Kitten's Clear over here, which is a zinc-free clear, which usually does great with stuff. But that's a bit of a disappointment. I will... So this was sgraffitoed on, and then this was painted on. And it's supposed to be a negative and a positive image. So, yeah, that's a little bit, is it focused? I think so. That is a little bit disappointing. Stuff happens. All right. This was cracked before I put it in there. It does not go all the way through. But this is floating blue with light flux on the rim. I don't like what the light flux does with the floating blue. It doesn't have enough movement to it. I like the Lumos better. Does better with it. And so what this was thrown as a bowl with straight V sides, and then folded up to make this shape. So it's a vase. or whatever you want to use it for. And that's on Laguna Frost. Now, I got 3 more pieces in here, which are kind of special. But let's look at the cones. Not quite a 6. Not quite a 6. Almost a 6. So we're not heating real evenly here. I'll have to play with that. I did a slow fire, but it's not translating well. And I can see I've got glaze drips in the bottom of my kiln. I will have to take care of that. This guy didn't come out exactly like I planned. So this is yin and yang. And there's 2 dragon heads that were slip trailed on here. There's the head of one and his wing curves around. There's the head of the other and his wing curves around this way. And then there's slip trailing here. This was another fancy handles mug, as you can see. And it's got floating blue on the inside. And I think it was Lumos. Not sure. I'll look. Anyway, we got some blue that popped off and hit down there. A little bit of kiln wash there, but no plucking. That came out all right. But these did not. I guess I had too much glaze on them, a little bit too thick there. But it's a comfortable handle, comfortable mug, easy to hold. And this one will probably hold about, I don't know, 30 ounces, 25, 30 ounces. And I got some little bumps in the bottom of it. Something was down in there. I don't know if you can see right down there in the top of there. Some little bumps in the glaze in the bottom. So not every glaze load turns out like you planned. This one turned out okay, though. So these are sandbow transfers. And the colors were filled in with colors for earth, kind of watered down just a little bit, like a watercolor. And so the transfers themselves are just black. So the yellow and the orange and the blue and the red are all things that I put in. Stroke and coat here, stroke and coat here. Then on the inside, I did some hearts that didn't turn out as well as they could have. But down in the bottom, we've got little flowers. And then down here, we've got flowers as well. So a little heart there. And that kind of burned out and bled just a little bit. And this is Kitten's Clear. Might look for another clear. I'm out of Kitten's Clear, so when I mix up the next clear, I will probably look at other options. Okay. And one more thing in here. And I'm hoping this guy turned out really good because he's for my grandson. Oh, yeah. Little Hootie Owl. And I got this from Tiffany Helmer at Hobble Creek Pottery. She's got a great video on making these, either hand-built or wheel-thrown. This guy was wheel-thrown. And she tells where to get the little plugs to go in the bottom of these. You can buy them on Amazon. That's just a little bit of kiln wash on there. It pops right off. So I did this one and slip trailed it. She does hers by cutting out pieces and putting them on for the eyes and everything. And the wings, I slip trailed mine on. I like the way the butterscotch opal worked on this. I agonized on how to glaze this guy. But I really like the butterscotch opal. And if you look, the highlights in his eyes are little teeny hearts. Little teeny hearts. Okay, guys. I will take some pictures and put them at the end because the lighting is terrible. So give me a little time to edit this. I got to go clean up, get everything put away before it starts raining. And I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, so as I promised, these are the 3 water whistles that got fired, glaze fired. And they all have water in them now. So here's the wizard. And here's the teapot. Kind of a teapotty sound. And here's the little birdie. So you can see the smaller the whistle, the higher the pitch. And I can't wait to get the other ones fired. Also, here's the screaming demon. He does say on the back, face your fear. Happy Halloween.